What is the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem? And how does that affect you in your career and your working life? In today's video, we're going to unpack these two real quick and talk about the typical challenges that people experience in the workplace that relate to either self-confidence, self-esteem, or sometimes both. So stick around. Hello there, thank you so much for tuning into this video. My name is Emmy Peterson and I've been working as a career transition coach now for quite a few years, since 2013, and I've helped many people transition in their career as well as in their life in general. And a topic that I am really interested in and that comes up quite a lot when I work with clients one-on-one is the distinction and the power of self-confidence, self-esteem, and how they relate to each other. So today I wanted to unpack that a little bit more and give you some tools and tips around how you can use this and how you can self-rate where you are at right now on these two categories. Because one thing that I see all the time is that people don't pay enough attention to where they are sitting due to external circumstances. So let's get into it. Self-esteem is essentially our relationship with ourselves. So it's how we feel about ourselves, our worthiness, and the value that we have as a person. Quite often it's easy to think of self-esteem as how good a friend are you to yourself. And you know, this can change through our life. It can, our self-esteem can get a bit of a hit if we're going through something difficult, or if we've gone through a breakup, or we lose a loved one and things like that. Or if you've been through a period perhaps of bullying or someone being unfair to you, your self-esteem can really suffer. Self-esteem is essentially all about who we are, or rather who we believe that we are, and what we believe that we are worthy of. So self-esteem is kind of like the baseline. So if you think about, your life as a house with different rooms, you've got a career room, you've got a family room, you've got a socializing room, you've got a hobby room. So that's kind of your house of your life. Your self-esteem is your foundation. The self-esteem is what sits underneath all of that, and it seeps into those different areas, the different rooms in your house. And what can happen is if something falls down really hard, like imagine the figurative bowling ball falling on the floor and cracking the floor in your work room, that can have ripple effects into other parts of your life as well, which is why we can't really think of our career as completely separate from everything else in our life. But your self-esteem is that foundation for your life in general. So how then does the foundation of self-esteem connect to self-confidence? Well, self-confidence is built on the proof that we feel like we're able to do something. So self-confidence is multiplied when we have proof, evidence, or achievements to show that we can do something. A great example of self-confidence, for example, is if you think of a sport or a hobby that you are really good at. If you're a good runner, if you're a good cyclist, if you're a really good photographer, painter, you're really good at cooking and baking. So something that you know how to do almost in your sleep, you will have really high self-confidence because there's a lot of proof that you can do that thing well. So the interesting thing then, and to continue to use the house metaphor, so if the self-esteem is your foundation, your self-confidence is almost like the type of clothing, the jacket you wear, if you will, when you go into the different rooms. Because, for example, someone who's been single for a very long time might have low self-confidence in the dating relationship room, but they can have really high self-confidence in the work and career room because they know how to do their job, they know how to do that thing. And that's the reality of self-confidence and self-esteem. They're never static. Our outfits change as we go through life, and as we go into different rooms, certain things get worn down, or when we get into a completely new career, for example, you've always worn the red jacket of marketing, and all of a sudden you get thrown this gold glitter jacket of finance, and all of a sudden you're meant to wear that. And quite often what I see happen for people when they're doing a big career transition, so they're changing industries or changing quite fundamentally, is that some challenges will come up when it comes to self-confidence. So what then are some challenges that come up when we are building self-confidence, when we're doing something brand new? First of all, many people, very many people I've worked with actually, and in my own experience with my own career as well, I have had the biggest triggers around self-confidence either when I've had a promotion, so I've been offered a more advanced role or stepping into a leadership role. I have also felt it when I'm doing interviews, and that's actually why I've had this question from many clients as well. So I actually created a specific course for job interviews. I've got a video on it as well that I'll link up here, and I will link the course below for you so you can check it out if you want to. But when we are interviewing for something new and or we're returning to the job market after a longer career break of parental leave or sick leave, or you might have just taken a sabbatical and gone traveling and taken a bit of a break. But when we come back into the job market, our self-confidence can be challenged because we haven't built the confidence in that skill yet. So our ability, our confidence, our belief in our ability to do the leadership thing or that particular skill or job is lower. And the only way to build self-confidence is to do the thing and to be compassionate with ourselves in the process. Have good teachers, have good mentors, and be really honest and say, look, I need some help to learn how to do this. I haven't really done that before. Would you mind showing it to me again? That is how we learn and build self-confidence. And the most important thing of all is to not try to rush self-confidence. Be really realistic with what you're able to do in certain fields of your life. It's totally fine to be more capable at something over there compared to this new thing that you're attempting to learn over here. So be really realistic, ask for help, learn, fail forward if you don't have anything against that particular term, but essentially it's all about learning, implementing, and growing. That's essentially all of that it is. And when you have that relation with self-confidence, the relation to self-esteem becomes much easier. Because self-esteem, I have seen people who've come to me who have really high self-confidence doing a particular role or a particular skill, but their sense of self, their worthiness, what they feel like they are worth as a person, their self-esteem is lower than their self-confidence. Sometimes it can be the other way around as well. But essentially, if your self-esteem is low, there's a higher risk that you feeling that you're not worthy, you don't belong, and all those universal fears, which I'll link that video up here, I've talked about that extensively. But when you feel like you don't belong or you're not worthy, what can happen if you're in that headspace for too long is that you start questioning that thing that you're really confident about. And you start questioning your ability to do the stuff that you know how to do. But you might just need, because you've had a negative experience or someone's been a bit mean to you or a bit negative to something that you've done, it is really easy to take that on board. Firstly, spend some time working on your self-esteem, which is your relationship with yourself. Be a better friend to yourself. Be compassionate. Don't do that classic thing that most of us do, which is that we are way harsher on ourselves than we are on anybody else. So try to train yourself gradually over time that your self-talk, what goes on in here most of the time, is compassionate, and talk to yourself as if you would talk to a friend. Because essentially you are your own friend, whether you like it or not, and you can decide if you want that to be a good friendship or a very negative, complicated one. And that takes time. It's something we do over our life. And in terms of self-confidence, the best way to get more confident in life in general is to go and do the thing that scares you a little bit. You don't have to do them all by yourself. Make sure that you do a course or have a mentor or have people like myself or another coach supporting you in the process. It is so important to not go at it alone. But essentially, your confidence will grow the more you do the thing. I had a lady I worked with a couple of years ago who said, I really want to get better at public speaking, but I really don't want to do the presentations. How can I get better at presenting? And I said to her, I was like, there's no way around the presentation skills. You can learn some of the technical skills and do some courses, but ultimately the thing that's going to make you get better quicker and get more confident is doing it. And that band-aid can be a hard one to rip off. So I bet you're a bit curious now as to what do you do from here? Well, in the blog post, which I will link below, I have put some exercises and some things to think about as you self-rate where you're sitting with your self-confidence and where you're sitting with your self-esteem right now in your life. And I'd really recommend that you go to that blog post and go through the exercise. It'll only take you a few minutes, and reflect on how this might be playing out in your life at the moment. Because let's face it, every single one of us have gone through a negative experience in our life and or in our career at some point. It does affect our self-esteem. It does affect our self-confidence. Depending who you are as a person, it will affect you differently. But I assure you that you have been affected by it at some point in your life. I trust that this was helpful for you, and I trust that you are kind to yourself as you go through the exercise in the blog post. If there are any particular things that you'd like to hear more about, feel free to leave a comment, and I'd be more than happy to make videos about any of these topics that help you and your career so that you can move forward to what you really want to see in your life and your work. All the best, and I'll see you in the next video.